What's up, gamers? Dreamcastguy here, and it's Top 10 Thursday. 2020 has been very strange. I mean, when you really think about it, we're getting new game consoles, but we haven't seen a lot of games. Everybody's stuck indoors, but simultaneously, we're managing to open our minds to new possibilities and new genres. There have been things that are good, and a lot of stuff that's very, very bad. But what I wanted to do today is kind of highlight what I think is the best so far. There hasn't been a ton of major releases, and definitely some of the biggest surprises are coming over the horizon, like Cyberpunk 2077, but I wanted to just talk about the stuff that's going on right now that you absolutely should play if you've managed to miss it. So today, I'm counting down my picks of the top 10 best games of the year so far. Number 10. Resident Evil 3 Remake. When this initially came out, I definitely had some problems with it, mostly because it's a game that's pretty short, it has some cut areas, and it's just not the best remake. But since I did my review, I've had a chance to play through it again, check out the other difficulties, and explore the city of Raccoon a little bit more. And while this isn't exactly the game I'd want, and it's definitely not the best Resident Evil, it's still a game that I'm glad came out in 2020. And if you haven't picked it up already, I still suggest you check it out when it's on sale because it's a spooky good time even if it's not going to entertain you more than a couple days. Number 9. Call of Duty Warzone. There are certain styles of game that are just so addictive to me. They just have such an interesting gameplay loop that sucks me in and just makes me want to try and get better and better. And strangely enough, Call of Duty Warzone, despite the fact that this is just a little Call of Duty Battle Royale free-to-play experience, is so invigorating. I mean, I've already put in over 100 hours this year, dropping in, trying to scoop up weapons, and just to blast my opponents. And a big part of this is definitely the accessibility. This is a very, very easy game to play. I mean, every time you drop in, even if you completely suck, there's a good chance you're going to find a weapon and feel like you're doing something even as you learn. I just think that this really manages to master the Battle Royale formula, and even though it is free to play, at least the microtransactions are just little dumb cosmetic stuff and not particularly egregious. This is one that I definitely see myself playing a lot for the rest of the year just because I kind of dig the flow of battle. Number 8. Dragon Ball Z Kakarot. Okay, so honestly, this isn't a game I thought we'd be talking about 6 months after release. It's a game that's kinda smaller, it's very contained, but it still manages to be really, really exciting, especially for Dragon Ball Z fans. This is like an open world RPG that allows you to fly around, blast some stuff, get items, and do side quests. But more than that, it really contains the original love of Dragon Ball. It reinvents a lot of the famous scenes, it brings in some new bad guys, and in general, I feel like it's a game that I'm definitely glad I beat. More than just because I got to see these cool, iconic scenes a second time, but because it is just so fun to play. I like just getting a chance to super Kamehameha somebody into smithereens again and again. Number 7. Dreams. Something I think is almost impossible to try and do is predict the gaming industry. Try and just understand what's coming next. And a big reason why is because we have these concise console generations, and every generation it seems like the entire industry gets molded, changed, transformed. But I do believe that our first real look into where gaming may be going is Dreams. This isn't just a game. It is a game, but it's also a game engine. It's an ability to craft your own digital universe and storylines and make your own cutscenes or interactive paintings, or if you want, it could be anything from bowling with a sniper rifle to trying to drift around these rainy roads, or something just as simple as a first-person shooter. I like Dreams because it manages to just be limited by your own imagination, and it's something that's just going to grow and get better as time goes on. I mean, genuinely, of everything we're seeing this year, Dreams is one game that I hope that absolutely everybody at least picks up. Number 6. Valorant. You know, something I've noticed recently is that so many games try and be big and enormous. They want to have like 100 hours of exploration and combat, when I think that sometimes a game can be incredibly tiny and yet so well polished. Valorant is a small game. It's free, but the reason I kind of dig it is because it's just a couple maps, it's just a couple heroes, and it has one main objective: plant the bomb, blow up your enemies, or try and defuse it. Just this way that it has this nice functionality of attack and defend, trying to use your character's special abilities to heal your teammates or blind an enemy. It all fits together with just such an absolute precision. I've put so much time into this game, specifically with my friends doing custom modes, just me and my buddies trying to outsmart each other again and again, going around these maps and trying to flank each other or screw over our opposition. I mean, this game, despite the fact that it manages to be so tiny, it's something that manages to feel so much bigger in our minds. Number 5. Streets of Rage 4. Oh my gosh, this game is so freaking good. I mean, I'm still blown away about the fact that the old Streets of Rage games came out 20 years ago, and yet somehow, despite the fact that it's had over 2 decades of a hiatus, Streets of Rage 4 is so freaking sharp. I love pulling off combos, I love the fact that it has this hand-drawn art, and it's one of those things that definitely encourages replayability. Every time I've gone through this game, I've discovered a new item, or a new way to uppercut people, or a new weakness of one of these particularly tough foes. And more than that, it's one of those games that I love to just jump onto the internet and play with a stranger or a subscriber, because every time I'm going through this, which has mostly been on the Xbox One, I'm constantly just appreciating the entire thing that they've managed to construct here. It feels so retro and so modern, which honestly is a much more difficult task than we might imagine. The fact that this feels so much like the old games, except with so much extra awesomeness just crammed in there, is a testament to the quality of the Sega game they've made. Number 4. Animal Crossing: New Horizons. This cutesy title managed to somehow completely take over the entire planet for almost a month, and now it's a little bit funny to look back on because people are kind of calming down at last. But this game, I believe that the reason it managed to get so many hearts and minds is because it's just so chill. It's such a relaxing game in general. All you do is go around and try and construct the perfect island, getting a nice little armoire, or getting a nice little piece of aesthetic jewelry for your character, or getting a chance to buy a plane ticket and fly to your friends' islands and help them water their flowers. This is a game that's just all about friendship, and in a way that feels much more natural. It feels the way we actually have friends in real life. You get a chance to visit them, have some fun, make some memories, and just kind of exist. I put a bunch of time in this game, and most of it was co-op, because it was so funny to try and explore, to try and trap somebody in bed, or play little mini games. It's one of those games that I definitely find myself going back to at least a couple minutes every single week, because even if I don't plan on getting fully invested in this world again, I still want to participate in it. Number 3. Ori and the Will of the Wisps. Real quickly before we dig into this game, I just want to say that these top 3 entries, 1, 2, and 3, all of these games are masterpieces. I mean, it's so difficult to even try and rank them amongst each other because they all manage to just be so freaking perfect. But this game, the reason I'm putting it at the number 3 slot is because, yes, it is an action platformer that manages to have like puzzly elements, but at times it also feels like an interactive painting. It's a chance to just disconnect from your brain and go so completely into this haunting visage. I like this game a lot, and while it isn't particularly long and it doesn't have like crazy voice acting, it still manages to be very emotionally investing. I mean, I'll just say this, anybody who's played this game, you're probably gonna cry. And not just because it's like a particularly sad story, but just because I feel like this game, it manages to get you sucked in. It makes you care. It makes you want to try and explore explore these forests and save the little forest creatures. And if you're doing like a side quest to try and help somebody out of a poison swamp, you genuinely care about that person. There is such an amazing level of detail, from the animations to the way that these levels are constructed, that just conveys such a masterful craft of skill, and I don't think that we're going to see another game like this perhaps for the rest of the year. Number 2. Doom Eternal. The two words that are often repeated when you talk about this game are rip and tear. And what's funny is that these really are the perfect words for it, because as soon as you pick up the controller, you're going to be ripping through demons and being torn to shreds. You die a lot. This game is very, very difficult, but more than just being hard, I really just love it. I mean, I'll just say this, I died hundreds of times trying to beat this game, and yet, even when I was getting blown off of a bridge and falling into lava, or I'm trying to do a glory kill and somebody else manages to uppercut me to the moon, I don't care. I think what's really great is that it feels so encouraging. Whenever you manage to figure out how to defeat that next marauder, or you find a way to customize your gun to be a little bit more efficient against a particularly pack of these demonic demons, it feels so great. I love a game that manages to be hard and yet so rebelliously fun, because it feels like every time you manage to just conquer that one extra screen or get past one extra enemy, it feels like you're doing something that's never been done before. They're about to release a bunch of DLC for this game, and to be honest, this is now the most excited I've been for DLC in all of 2020, because even if it just happens to be extra multiplayer maps or a tiny little side mode, I'm definitely on board for it, because any extra reason to rip and tear is definitely great by me. Number 1. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, putting this game at the top of my list, I'm sure, is no surprise, because I did literally everything in it. I got every hidden cutscene, I managed to get every weapon and master it, I did every single hidden boss, I got every side quest, I did every piece of every part of this game, and I ate it up. Now, I'm a huge Final Fantasy fanboy. I love the series, I love all the different interpretations of it, but the Final Fantasy VII Remake, it manages to stand apart because it almost feels like an evolution of classic RPG formulas. It gives you so many different tools of choice, from being able to tinker with the specific stats of each of your different weapons, to being able to level up different magic systems so you can blast people with fire or ice. Final Fantasy VII Remake is one of those style of games that the more you put into it, the more you get out of it. After having spent over 100 hours in this game and earning the Platinum Trophy, I still look back on it so fondly because I feel like it opens so many doors. It just kind of projects us into the future of Final Fantasy and shows that this is what games can be. This is the very high bar that every other role-playing game should absolutely aim for. And for that reason, I'm awarding this my pick as the best game of 2020 so far. Did your favorite game not make the list? Got an idea for a future top 10? Leave it in the comments down below, because I promise I actually read the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and share it with your friends if you want. But do me the biggest favor of all, and keep dreaming. There is some stuff that I wanted to put on this list, but I just haven't had a chance to play it enough. Like, a bunch of you have been spamming me to try and beat Deep Rock Galactic, and as good as this game is, I haven't put in enough hours yet to properly realize it. But I guess the rest of this year is going to be very, very interesting. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.